Hello everyone and welcome back to the 5th season of Dungeons & Death Battles as we continue on our journey to find the most lethal monster in all of Dungeons & Dragons. In this season, as with those that have come before it, 16 deadly dungeon denizens will be facing off against each other until we find the most barbaric of the bunch. This, of course, being the CR5 season. The rules of the arena are simple. Combatants start 30 feet apart. There is no fleeing the arena, no outside influence is allowed, and victory is achieved by kill only. Due to some very specific shenanigans last season, the kobold mob that runs the arena have seen it fit to install a 150-foot high ceiling, and have ruled that any creature leaving the arena via any means of teleportation, astral trickery or the like must return to the material plane within one turn or be disqualified, and likely consumed by the arena arbiters. We don't know exactly what they are, but they sound absolutely terrifying, so best obey the rules. Over the last 8 weeks, 14 monsters have battled for a place in the quarterfinals, with 7 achieving this lofty goal, ascending into the upper echelons of the CR5 League. That of course means that today, our final pair will be facing off against one another in glorious combat to see which one of them will earn the honor of taking the final open spot in the upcoming quarterfinals. And oh boy, have we saved some of the best till last, as today's combat will see the Bulette, an enigmatic legend that strikes fear into the narratives of many a folktale, taking on the equally horrifying Shambling Mound, a sentient form of plant life that seeks to engulf and devour those beings unfortunate enough to stumble into their wilderness lairs. Each of these creatures holds a position of high renown and are well known for their aggressive tendencies and destructive abilities. From my perch way up high, I can see that the various teams are preparing their creatures for combat, and while they do so, we will have time to jump into a combatant analysis, starting off with the blue corner and the Bulette. Commonly known as the land shark, the Bulette burrows its way into the arena with a hit point average of 94 and a bulky 17 AC. This monstrosity is about as bestial as they come, and with a 19 in strength and 21 in constitution, it is very clearly built as a bulwark predator, relying on its powerful physique to beat prey into submission before devouring them with its set of extremely lethal jaws. On the mental front, the Bulette is clearly lacking, with a 10 in wisdom rising high above the other stats in this category, once again showcasing a predator that relies purely on instinct to make its kills, and it will be relying on its usual burrow-based hunting techniques in today's duel. As mentioned, the Bulette's jaws are deadly, and these snap towards a target twice per attack, each attempt landing home with a +7 modifier and dealing 2d12 plus 4 points of piercing damage on a connection. The Bulette can also call on a very surprising deadly leap, an ability that allows this terror to launch itself towards a target, knocking anything that fails a DC 15 strength saving throw into a prone position, also dealing 3d12 points of damage or half as much on a success. The Bulette can also perform a more casual leap, jumping up to 30 feet by spending 10 feet of movement as a bonus action. Still, a rather terrifying prospect for any unfortunate enough to encounter one of these carnivorous creatures. That being said though, today's red corner is host to another monster of legend, a creature of perhaps similar savagery to the Bulette. I speak of course of none other than the Shambler, a sentient plant more commonly known as the Shambling Mound. This denizen stalks into the arena with a hit point average of 110 and an AC of 15, backing these up with a spread of stats very similar to that of its opponent, as this creature also relies heavily on physical strength to win its battles, some highlights here being 18 in strength and 16 in constitution. This peculiar plant boasts some solid defenses, with resistance to cold and fire damage and immunities against lightning damage, as well as the deafened and exhaustion conditions. In fact, the Shambling Mound is so combative against lightning that it does in fact heal itself whenever it is subjected to the element, regaining hit points equal to the amount of lightning damage it takes. Now on the attacks front, the Mound is voracious and lashes out with barbed, electrically charged tendrils. It can make 2 attacks per round, with each hitting on 7-ups and dealing 1d6 plus 4 points of bludgeoning damage plus 2d4 points of lightning damage. This attack also has a reach of 10 feet, and if the target is a medium or smaller creature, the Shambling Mound pulls the target 5 feet straight towards itself. And this goes hand in hand with the next ability, as once within range, the Mound can also attempt to engulf a target. On a failed DC 15 strength saving throw, the target is pulled into the Shambling Mound space and has the grappled condition, which comes with an escape DC of 14. Until the grapple ends, the target has the blinded and restrained conditions, and it takes 3d6 points of lightning damage at the start of each of its turns. When the Shambling Mound moves, the grappled target moves with it, costing no extra movement. The Shambling Mound can only have one creature grappled by this action at a time, but it is worth noting that this ability will only work on a creature that is sized medium or smaller, which does mean that the Bulette will be outside the weight class for this ability to take hold. But now, with all that said, it does look like the arena teams and their creatures are ready. With some recent technological upgrades to arena facilities, I am currently being informed via earpiece that our Kobold stewards are ready for the fight to commence, which can only mean that it is time to roll in for initiative as we kick off the very last qualifying round of the CR5 League, and we will of course be starting off right here with the Bulette, which will be rolling in with no modifier. And so kicking things off right here, Bulette does not have a modifier to its initiative, which does mean it will be rolling this in flat, so what you see is what you get. So rolling in, Bulette looking for as high a number on the dice as possible here. And a 13 is a decent roll right there from the large monstrosity. A very solid start indeed. Let's see if the Shambling Mound can best that. And now this Triffid Horror does have a -1 modifier to its initiative, so we'll be looking to roll in with a 15 or higher in order to see the Bulette start second. So rolling in. And with a 16, -1 for 15, that does mean that the Shambling Mound will be kicking things off in today's combat. And both of these monsters are absolutely chomping at the bit to be unleashed upon one another. This is going to be a battle of instinctual brutality. We can see that right here. A ground and pound conflict. And the Shambling Mound is not going to disappoint, as it is going to barrage across the arena towards the Bulette's position, where of course it will meet the creature in combat. And the Mound is going to get toe-to-toe with its opponent. Both of these large creatures sizing each other up, looking to make first blood. And with that, of course, the Shambling Mound is going to start things off here. It eyes the Bulette up and down, its blind sight engaging, and it does realize that the Bulette is going to be too large for its engulf. Instinct driving it instead to use its charged tendrils, those barbed vines looking to strike through the Bulette's armor class of 17. And with that, the Shambling Mound will be striking in with its multi-attack, making 3 charged tendril attacks. So first one rolling in here, looking to beat that AC of 17, +7 to this. But a 9 is going to be a single point shy, totaling for 16, which does mean the first strike misses. Second one rolling in, but a 13 +7 for 20 is going to be a connection right here. And the Shambling Mound is now going to jump in with 1d6 +4 points of bludgeoning damage, plus 2d4 points of lightning damage. So rolling in. And that is a decent strike there from the Shambling Mound, with a 3 and a 4 on the d4s there for 7, +5 bringing that up to 12, with that 4 modifier raising that all the way up to 16 points of damage, which will be dropping the Bulette from 94 to 78 hit points. And as the tentacle makes contact, it does lock onto the Bulette momentarily, as the Shambling Mound does attempt to pull the creature closer to it. But of course, the Bulette, being a large creature, is also going to be immune to that part of this attack. But that's not it for now, as the Shambling Mound does have one last charged tendril attack to roll in with. So let's see if it can do it. Again, +7 to this. But with a 3 +7 for 10, unfortunately, that last strike is going to bounce away. Simply blocked by the Bulette and its iron hard hide. And that does simply mean that we will now be handing over to the Bulette, which is going to absolutely return the favor, having been engaged upon in melee combat. This now all comes down to strength. The Bulette eyeing up its opponent, and the monster is going to snap towards the Mound with its bite attack, of course getting the chance to make 2 strikes. And the Bulette will be rolling in right here. Also +7, matching the Bulette for hit, but instead looking to beat an AC of 15. So Bulette rolling in, first attack with its bite, and a 15 +7 for 22 is going to be a connection. Vines and fronds snapping left, right, and center as the first bite attack tears through the foliage before it, as it does inflict 2d12 +4 points of piercing damage. So rolling in, and a pretty decent hit there from the Bulette as well, with an 11 +4 for 15. Topped up by that 4 to make for 19 points of damage, which will be dropping the Shambling Mound from 110 to 91 hit points, as yet a second bite attack rolls in from the Bulette. And an 11 +7 for 18 does mean that that second bite attack has managed to land as well, as once again 2d12 +4 points of piercing damage are brought to bear. And that right there is a monstrous connection from the Bulette. It certainly seems to have found a weak point in the Shambling Mound's husk, with 2 11s for 22 points of damage. Of course, topped up by that 4 modifier to make for 26 total. An absolutely outrageous output there, which will further drop the Shambling Mound from 91 to 65 hit points after that initial onslaught. That flurry of snapping bite attacks as the Bulette makes its presence in the arena well known indeed. And with that, we will hand back over to the Shambling Mound. The strength-based plant continuing on with the only strategy it knows, and that is to attempt to beat its prey into submission. Of course, those hulking tendril arms slamming back down upon the Bulette's hide as it once again looks to inflict maximum damage. The brawl is well and truly underway here in the arena tonight as the Shambling Mound rolls in with 3 more charged tendril attacks. First one rolling in looking to be that AC of 17 with a +7 modifier, and that is a 6 +7 for 13, which is not going to do it. The Bulette's tough skin proving simply too much to cut through for now, but there are still 2 more attacks to roll in with. Second rolling through, and that is more like it from the Shambling Mound with a 19 +7 for 26. The Bulette will now be once again subject to 1d6 +4 points of bludgeoning damage plus 2d4 points of lightning damage. So rolling in that first segment of damage here, and a maximum hit there from the Shambling Mound. Total dice damage there, that is the maximum that it could have rolled. The Shambling Mound means business with those 2 falls for 8 plus that 6 there, bringing that all the way up to 14 points of damage, which will of course be topped up by that 4-point modifier to make for the Shambling Mound's maximum damage output of 18 points. What a brutal strike there from the plant as it drops the Bulette from 78 to 60 hit points. And it will now be rolling in with its final attack as it does still have another to go. Shambling Mound rolling in, +7 to this. And a 17 +7 for 24. Once again, another strike there from the Shambling Mound. The gun rolls in with that 1d6 +4 points bludgeoning damage plus 2d4 points of lightning damage. Let's see if it can max out once again. And it's actually not far off with 2 3s for 6 plus 5 for 11, which will be topped up by that +4 modifier to make for another 15 points of damage, merely 3 points shy of another maximum strike. We have seen some very, very high damage rolls from the Shambling Mound here. It means business as it drops the Bulette from 60 hit points down to just 45. What an absolutely huge amount of damage from the Shambling Mound. These creatures really are going toe-to-toe to prove which is the baddest of the bunch, and we are witnessing what could be one of the most vicious arena conflicts to date. The Shambling Mound dishing out crazy damage with its tendril vines, while the Bulette of course snaps back an unrelenting force as it looks to dismantle the Shambling Mound with its maw. And we will now be handling over to the Bulette as combat continues. The snapping jaws just continuing to bite down upon its opponent. It is not looking to relent or show any weakness in front of such a barbarous opponent, and thus those jaws will continue to bite forth as the first attack rolls in. Once again, a +7 to this, looking to be an AC of 15, and a 13 +7 for 20 yet again secures another hit for the Bulette, which will now of course be rolling in with those 2d12s plus 4 points of piercing damage. And another incredible hit right here. These creatures are absolutely going for it tonight with an 11 and a 10 on those damage dice for 21, topped up by the 4-point modifier to make for 25 points of damage. Another near maximum hit right there from the creatures in the arena tonight as the Shambling Mound is dropped from 65 to 40 hit points as the Bulette crunches forth with yet a second bite attack. Rolling in, +7 to this. And with a 7 +7 for 14, it is now the Bulette's turn to fall a single point short of the Shambling Mound's AC as its second bite simply misses the target. The first one dealing punishing damage, but the Shambling Mound managing to dodge aside from the second. But the Bulette is unperturbed by this, as is the Mound itself as we hand the turn back over again. These two creatures just going absolutely hell to metal here as the Shambling Mound continues on with the damage streak as it looks to roll in with its charged tendrils yet again. The combat is electric tonight, and the Shambling Mound is going to look to deal some more of that damage type right here as it rolls in with its first charged tendril. +7 to this, and there it is, a 16 +7 for 23. That is a good solid first strike from the Mound, which will now be dishing out yet more damage. Let's see what it can do. It's had great success so far. And again, a pretty strong strike right there with a 6 and a 4 for 10, plus that 1 on the d4 for 11, which will once again be topped up by the 4-point modifier to make for 15 points of damage, which will be dropping the Bulette from 45 to 30 hit points as the Mound's second attack rolls in. And the 13 plus 7 for 20 is another strike as it rolls in with yet more damage. And a slightly lower output there with a 1 and a 2 for 3. The additional 3 bringing that up to 6 points of damage plus the 4 modifier to make for 10. Still not too shabby as the Bulette is dropped further down to 20 hit points, with the Shambling Mound still having a single attack left to roll in with. Let's see if it can make the triple right here. And oh baby, a triple it has rolled indeed, with that 15 getting topped up by that 7 to make for a 22. Once again, another connection by the Mound, which will be rolling in yet again another set of damage. Let's see what it can do. And that has rolled spread out indeed, with another lower roll right here with a 2 and a 2 for 4, plus that 1 for 5, of course topped up by the plus 4 modifier to make for 9 points of damage from that third tendril, which will be dropping the Bulette from 20 to 11 hit points. Still a decent amount of damage output there from the Shambling Mound, and the Bulette will absolutely be feeling the effects of those strikes now, as it has been dropped critically low right here. Blood spilling from open wounds, as likewise on the opposite side the Shambling Mound seems to be using some kind of viscous sap, as we do hand over to the Bulette, which is going to continue to snap and bite towards its opponent. This now turning into a battle of both territory and survival, as these creatures seek to prove which is the most brutal of them all. The Shambling Mound and the Bulette, both creatures that are unlikely to back away from a situation such as this. They now need to prove which of them is the apex monster within the arena, and the Bulette has an opportunity to do so right here. 2 bite attacks to roll in with, as it starts off with the first. Bulette once again looking to beat that AC of 15 plus 7 modifier, and with a 17 plus 7 for 24 yet again. That is another snapping bite that has made it through against the Shambling Mound, as 2d12 plus 4 points of piercing damage roll in, and much lower damage from the Bulette there, with a 4 and a 2 for 6, topped up by the 4-point modifier to make for 10 points of damage, as the Bulette does appear to be weakening, although it does still drop the Shambling Mound from 40 to 30 hit points, as its second bite attack rakes in, of course looking to deal far more damage than it previously has. And so Bulette rolling in right here, plus 7 modifier, and with a 12 plus 7 for 19, that second hit has been secured, as it now looks to roll in yet again another set of damage. So rolling in here, 2d12 plus 4 points of piercing damage, and a 9 and a 1 for 10 plus 4 for 14 is going to drop the Shambling Mound down to 16 hit points, as this conflict of monsters really does look to be coming to a head here in the battle tonight. The Bulette certainly looking to tire, although the unyielding Shambling Mound looks to be unbothered by this situation. Of course, its immunity to exhaustion, meaning that it just simply does not get tired. But with that, we will be handing over once again to the Shambling Mound. The Bulette, of course, engaged in mortal combat, although feeling as bloodied and bruised as it is, the Bulette does at this moment feel an instinctual driver take over its body, as it does look to the arena ground below, and it will look to burrow itself away from the Shambling Mound. The Predator, knowing full well that it does not want to take any more strikes from those charged tendrils, natural instinct driving this move forward, and the Bulette will use 40 feet of its movement to dig itself down into the arena underground, although this will of course lead to an opportunity attack from the Shambling Mound, which will of course get to roll in with a plus 7 right here, and a 7 on the dice, plus 7 for 14 does mean that the Shambling Mound has missed for now, and the Bulette is able to dig itself underground in the arena, which is the first time that we have seen a creature employ such a strategy. The shredding claws of the Bulette allowing it to essentially swim through the ground below it, another big reason why these creatures are known today as land sharks. And with that, it does appear that the Bulette has vanished from sight. Audience, engage your goggles of true sight, and those of you with them will be able to see the Bulette's movements. And now the Shambling Mound does in fact have blind sight, although this will be no use against the Bulette while it is underground. Blind sight does not allow creatures to see anything that is behind total cover, and thus the Bulette will be essentially invisible to the Shambling Mound at this point, which, as we hand over to its turn, is going to metaphorically scratch its head as it sweeps and circles the area around it, looking for anywhere that its opponent may be. And in response to this, going to use its action to hold an attack action, and will be striking out at the Bulette the very moment it breaks ground. And with that, we will hand over to the Landshark itself, currently well earning its name, as any of you with true sight goggles will see it burrowing straight up underneath the Shambling Mound right here, as it does look to breach the ground, where it will be engaging its deadly leap ability. And with that, the ground underneath the mound erupts, shards of arena floor and tile blasting forth as the Bulette does jump and launch itself into the air, where it is positioning itself well above the Shambling Mound as it looks to make landfall upon its opponent. But of course, the mound has held an action, and as the Bulette leaps upwards, exposing its softer underbelly, the Shambling Mound will be making that reaction attack with its held action. And now, of course, a +7 to this, once again looking to beat the Bulette's AC of 17. And a 19 + 7 for 26 has done it, as the Shambling Mound is able to roll in 1d6 + 4 points of bludgeoning damage plus 2d4 points of lightning damage with that held attack. This has built up to an extremely exciting moment right here in the arena as the mound dishes out some damage. Let's see if it could do it. And with 2 1s for 2 plus 3 for 5, of course topped up by that +4 modifier to make for 9 points of damage, the Bulette will be dropped to just 2 hit points, as the Shambling Mound's lashing vines do indeed inflict damage, but not quite enough to finish off the beast, as landfall is about to be made by the Bulette, its mass falling from the sky towards the Shambling Mound. And the creature must now make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw to avoid taking 3d12 points of bludgeoning damage, and this will be done with a -1 modifier. So Shambling Mound rolling in, and with an 11 -1 for 10, that does mean that the mound will fail that dexterity saving throw, leaving it susceptible to 3d12 points of bludgeoning damage from a falling Bulette, which will be looking to crush the life out of the Shambler in front of it. So rolling in, let's see what happens. And with a 7 + 4 for 11 plus that 9 there for 20 points of damage, the Bulette is going to land atop the Shambling Mound. A sickening crunch. The life force of the plant-like creature before us is absolutely obliterated as the Bulette drops the Shambling Mound from 16 to 0 hit points in what truly has been one of the most brutal battles we have seen in the arena thus far. And with a final snap of its jaws, the Bulette does stop all movement from the creature in front of it, and with barely more than a sniff, the Bulette is going to return back to its underground tunnel, leaving line of sight, and likely making the Kobold Mafia's job in retrieving it back to the pens slightly more difficult than it otherwise could have been. But with all that said, that does mean that the Bulette will be rising up into the quarter-final round, where we'll be battling on evermore, looking for that even more coveted semi-final place spot. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed witnessing the Bulette take on the Shambling Mound in a combat that really could have gone either way. And I hope you will join me again next time when we kick off the quarter-final round as the Flesh Golem takes on the Beholder Zombie in a battle of the Colossal Undead. And if you did enjoy what you saw, please consider dropping a like on the video, commenting down below, and of course subscribing to the channel. And once again, thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video as we kick off the quarter-final round very, very soon.